This is ABC Wide Bay.
Well, it's really becoming an all-too-familiar story, a fatal truck crash in our region. Just a couple of days ago, a 58-year-old woman was killed in a truck crash at Ammermoor, and it's just 2 weeks since a woman in her 20s died in a collision between a SUV and a B-double gas tanker on the Bruce Highway in Pig Creek. Well, on top of those deaths, a 61-year-old male cyclist was killed after being hit by a truck at West End. So, who was to blame for those accidents is, of course, still subject to investigation, but just the fact that there have been 3 truck-related deaths in Queensland this year has got the alarm bells ringing for the Transport Workers Union. And from there, the National Secretary, Tony Sheldon, is with me. Tony Sheldon, what a tragic month this has been for road deaths involving trucks.
Oh, it's been horrific. You know, it's to see people lose their loved ones on the road, and of course these matters are still to be fully investigated. But everyone must go out to the families, and including the truck drivers that are been involved in these incidents. You know, this is a very tough industry where there's a lot of pressure on truckies.
Yeah. Of course, as you say, we don't know the detail of these accidents, but what are we to make of so many trucks being involved in these tragedies?
Well, we have on average, unfortunately, across the country, 330 people lose their lives in trucking incidents. And the National Transport Commission carried out an inquiry some few years ago, including there's been coroner's reports and many other studies. And it's really from the pressure that often occurs on trucking companies and truck drivers, owner-drivers, employees, and the people they work for, largely by big manufacturers and retailers, in particular the retailers that are putting economic pressure on those companies, which means they sweat their labour and sweat their trucks, and it means long hours, fatigue, and equipment not up to the standard that's needed.
What are the truck drivers actually saying themselves about the sort of working conditions they're under? Well,
we've had numerous cases of drivers coming forward, and part of the response to that is we've been fighting for a number of years, and just recently won a rate for owner drivers across the country that are doing retail work and long distance. Of course, now there's a fight in the industry about that rate being paid, and there's attempts by some companies to try to get around what is a safe rate. That means a rate to be able to maintain your vehicle, you got to put food on your table, to be able to make sure that you're an economically sound business.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, what drivers are saying is that they need that return to be able to meet the laws and their requirements, to be able to maintain their vehicle, and quite frankly...
So are the contracts really being squeezed far more than they were, say, 5, 10 years ago?
It's definitely got more aggressive. We've seen, Coles in particular and other retailers really leading the way in this pressure. Many of these executives have got huge bonuses. They've seen their share price go up, they've seen their directors' fees go up, and they've seen the standards in trucking go down, and we've seen more and more pressure. One of the things is the mechanics of most of the trucking industry has got safer and safer, but the deaths are still way too high, and the injury rates have gone through the roof.
Yeah. So I understand you're looking to maybe set up some sort of fund. How would that work?
Well, what we're saying to the government, that we've got an industry that where 31% of drivers under a Safe Work study, under a Safe Work Australia study, the peak occupational and safety body for the country, where 31% of employers have said that workers ignore safety rules to get the job done. They say 20% accept dangerous behaviour, compared to less than 2% in other industries. And again, another 20% break safety rules to meet deadlines, and this compares with 6% of employers in other industries. And what that means is that we need a auditing of clients and auditing of the industry, drivers to be aware of their rights, and employers to be aware of their obligations very clearly under laws that are in existence now right around the country. That means that drivers can stand together and stand up, exercise their rights to make sure that they can get home to their loved ones, and also other road users safe.
So how would the fund actually ensure that the companies are meeting safety obligations?
Well, what was critical for is the making sure that we have auditing to the supply chains right from the client through the supply chain of the trucking industry, to make sure that driving hours are being met, the correct rates are being paid, that's a rate that can maintain the vehicle. Those rates have been set out in some cases for owner-drivers and employees already by tribunals. And also making sure that there is efficient, safe, and a clear understanding of obligations. But that takes money and resources, and quite clearly the industry should be contributing to that, because as it stands at the moment, these clients are squeezing the industry to such a degree that people are literally losing their lives.
Is it right that trucking in Australia is actually Australia's deadliest profession?
Well, it's a terrible. When we say as a statistic, it's 15 times the national average of deaths of any other industry. But when you put that in human cost, 330 lives are lost each year. Many people maim for life. It is a very tough industry that is economically squeezed by some very powerful and very financially large corporations in this country. Yeah.
We spoke on this program recently about the introduction of telematics, sensor equipment for trucks. How do you feel about that?
Look, I think there's a combination of things. That is that if you're being squeezed economically, there's no technology that's going to save that truck driver from having to take shortcuts to make sure that they keep their job, that they are able to pay their bills. In a reckless industry pushed by clients economically, telematics and other forms of speed limiters, etc., are all pieces of equipment that should be properly costed in, should be properly paid for by clients, should be part of the cost model, and all those safety and efficiency devices, whether it be fuel efficiency or whether it be safety efficiency, are sensible things for an industry, but there has to be the capacity for people to actually pay for them, and that means there needs to be a safe rate for that to be done. So
what will you push for now to ensure that we're not talking about another trucking accident next week?
Well, unfortunately, David, I'll be surprised if we aren't talking in the coming weeks with another trucking incident because of the nature of the squeeze on the industry. But what we need to be happening right now is that the governments of all political nature need to be standing up and saying, we have to take this tragedy on head on. Not only is it unfair, but it's horrific to see that literally in the wake of it, so many people losing their lives.
Tony Sheldon, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, David.
Transport Workers Union National Secretary Tony Sheldon on ABC Bay. It's 9 minutes to 9.